Hello everyone, Dan Hook here, and today I'm going to be talking about places and how to name them for your book. Now, it doesn't really apply for books that are set in like real life present day because you kind of have the names already made for you. Of course you can change them if you want, alternative reality perhaps, and obviously if you write a historic book then it's obviously going to be named whatever it was named back then. But for the future, for post-apocalyptic, for dystopian, for sci-fi, for fantasy, world building, any of that sort of stuff where you need to make the actual names of the places, I will just run you through how I do it. Now, I'm not going to be touching upon people because although there are similarities with the way I come up with some names for people and also places, it doesn't really tie in. They're kind of their own sort of things. So I'm just going to leave that for another video and just focus primarily on places and stuff for this one. So in my book, it's set in a post-apocalyptic world on Earth. It could change. So the names that I use now, I've decided that later on, not going to be using them. I mean, it's set a few hundred years after the apocalypse, the events that occurred, and the people that live there now don't really know what the places were called before, and they've got their own names. So I guess you could compare it to like The Walking Dead, like you've got the Kingdom and the Sanctuary. Actually, they're in a town called Mulberry. They're not, I just completely made that up. But if they were in a town called Mulberry, it doesn't have quite the impact as The Kingdom or Sanctuary. So there is reason behind it. It sounds cooler, a little bit of edginess, and also it can be sort of descriptive of the actual place itself. So the things I consider when looking for a new name is the function of the place. Is it an industrial place? Is it a trading place? Is it a fishing place on the coast? Is it just a small village? Speaking of coasts, we have then location. Where is it located? Is it on a mountaintop? Is it by the sea? Is it in a forest, desert, snow? Add that to the size of the place. How big is it? Is it a town? Is it a village? Is it a city? And from these things, you should be able to start building up an image in your head of what the town or city or village is like. The aesthetics of the place. So, if, for example, it's on the eastern side of town or on your map and is in the mountains, well, Eastern Ridge. Mountains have ridges. Why not? Eastern Ridge. That sounds kind of cool. And it's factual. It's to the east. I mean, depending on where you are. I mean, it could be to the west if you were east of it. But that's besides the point. Or if it's on the central part of the map, you know, where roads cross over and stuff, you could just call it crossover. I mean, you know, crossover, where they cross. I mean, factual. So Eastern Ridge and crossover, they're not too edgy. They're okay. And sometimes it's best if you just don't think about it too much. Like, settle for names like that to begin with, and maybe if you want to change it later, do it. As long as you don't call it things that are too edgy. I mean, edginess is good, but too edgy, like Satan's Playground, or Blade Town, it just doesn't, for me at least, in my world, that doesn't fit in. Maybe Blade Town is really good. Maybe Blade Town is next to Guntown. Although if it is, I think I'd rather live in Guntown, because it ain't the Badlands. Something like the weaponry is okay, but I probably opt for, you know, armory because it just sounds better than weaponry to me. Again, subjective. So another example that I could give you is I made a coastal town on my map, and it's a trading place by the sea. Sea brings with it rust. If they have any metal buildings, it's probably going to be orangey red. So, could I call the place Rust? No. I mean, I could. But that's already a popular game anyway, so I don't really want to call it after a popular game. I could, but it's just also Rust is just Rust. It needs something else with it. Something that sounds a little bit more post-apocalyptic. So, I typed in on the internet, got them sweet synonyms, and before I know it, I landed on the word russet. Russet sounds a little bit more extra, but kind of means like a brownish, chestnutty sort of colour, but it's also related to rust. So I went with that. Russet it was. A rusty trading coastal town. I mean, you might look at me and be like, Russet? Really? Russet? That's kind of lame. Well, 1, maybe I want it to be kind of lame. 2, I don't think it's that lame. And 3, you're free to think what you want. But I like it. it's all subjective. Now when it comes to sci-fi, where you've got to name your own solar systems, planets, ecosystems, animals, races, and basically generally make the entire thing up, I'd argue that edginess is probably going to be your friend. And that looking at the thesaurus and synonyms are going to be probably your best friend, because you're going to have to name an awful lot. Although, one thing I would keep in mind, although I haven't done any sci-fi stuff myself, would be just try and keep it in theme. I mean, if you're gonna call a planet Prio Nebula, really cool name, nice and extra, don't call the next planet Bubble Pop or something, because the feel of it just won't be the same. You know, Prio Nebula's probably full of like predator-looking vicious creatures, and Bubble Pop is maybe full of more like marshmallow, blue, bubbly-looking, soft, cuddly creatures. But you could still, maybe you want that contrast. But for me, I mean, and if you are looking across the entire internet and still can't find any of those relatable words to a certain word, then don't limit it to English. There's plenty of other fancy languages that you could use that will have a word that might actually fit. Whether it's Spanish, French, or even Latin. Although now you're going to have like several more million words to look through. It's just for me, I have to keep in mind when I do the stuff, I can always change it, and don't be too picky. If it fits well enough, I leave it for now, and I'll just revisit it later. Because what I don't want to do is have a name of a town stop me from writing my book. Which is far more important. But yeah, this is how I do it. I obviously, you know, my method may not be your method, and my method may be a little more off, a little more time consuming, but it could work. It could, you know, if you use this and it helps you, then that's great. Let me know. If, however, you don't use this and you think it's a load of nonsense, well, you can let me know if you want. And if you do let me know, leave some tips on how I could do it better. Because, you know, most of it is subjective. And I do understand that I do actually have things, you know, still yet to learn. But yeah, either way, be sure to leave a comment down in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers for watching.